Can he clutch this back out, or will Kaina close it out? Can he get this corner
He goes all the way down.
He gets the pogo toward the bottom of the stage. It's going to last stock, but it's against an 8-force Zul on small Brawlhalla.
Stingray has to play a perfect stock. Side air, side light, nair, falling stare, misses, but Kaina gets the side light.
The neutral light is all he needs to get the KO. Doesn't get it there. That was an opportunity. Stingray knows what his win condition is, and he's going for it. He wants it so bad. He's got it. He's betting it all. He's betting it all. Can he do it? Can he stop Kaina, or will Kaina close his dreams out here? And Stingray is so goddamn clutch.
This is Stingray, one of the best Brawlhalla players of all time. Stingray started playing Brawlhalla tournaments in 2018 under the name Typhoon. Starting off, he had trouble finding his footing, placing outside of the top 8 in small community tournaments, and placing 65th in his first seasonal major, the 2018 Summer Championship, losing to Kosalix and Epsilon. But this didn't stop him from pushing to get better. Throughout the next 6 months, Stingray would play in as many tournaments as possible, placing 17th in the 2018 Autumn Championship, and then changing his name from Typhoon to Witty. Under this new alias, he would come 17th in the 2019 Winter Championship and 25th in the 2019 Spring Championship. 2 more top 32 finishes, but still far from what was to come. He even beat Pugsy in the 2019 Spring Championship, which is important for reasons we'll come back to later. For the 2019 Summer Championship, he would make one final name change, becoming Stingray, and he again comes 25th. By this time in late 2019, the pro scene in Brawlhalla had no movement at all. The same people were in the top 8 every single tournament. The competitive scene of the game at the very top level was completely stagnant. For nearly 2 years after Ethan got his first top 8 in Autumn's 2018, there were no new faces in the top 8 bracket. It wasn't just Stingray who was stuck in the top 32 trenches. The top 8 barrier was seemingly out of reach for every single player who hadn't already broken it. A paradox, keeping new talent out of the pro scene. Until the 2020 Winter Championship. Stingray joined the tournament, seeded to place 39th. He breezed through pools into the top 128, where he had to defeat Kosalix, who was a strong pro player at the time. The old guard versus a new talent, and Stingray comes out on top with a quick 2-0 victory. After another easy 2-0 against Ming, Stingray found himself with a guaranteed 9th place, his highest placement in a 1v1 major, ever. His opponent to get into top 8? One of the greatest players of all time. A man who was the only competition for Sandstorm in his prime. Seeded to place 2nd in the tournament overall.
Goodness, Boomy!
The set is a best of 3. The first player to win 2 matches would move on to the top 8. It's looking close. Boomy is, well, Boomy, and Stingray is playing out of his freaking mind. Tied 1-1, game 3, and Stingray wins the set 2-1, breaking into the top 8 for the first time. The first new player to top 8 in a year and a half. Unheard of. Most of the player base had never even heard of Stingray before this tournament. Nobody expected to see his name in the top 8 bracket, but there it was. In winners semifinals, Stingray has to face Pugsy. Remember Pugsy, the player that Stingray beat in the Spring Championship the year prior? It's time for a rematch. And sadly, Pugsy defeats Stingray 3-1, sending him into the losers bracket. For the Brawlhalla community, this is where Stingray's run ends. It was cool that a new player finally cracked the top 8, but it was over. He'd lost. The momentum was gone. And to put the cherry on top, Stingray's next opponent was the best Brawlhalla player of all time, Sandstorm. The player seeded to win the entire tournament, knocked into the losers bracket and winners quarterfinals in a close set with Cody Travis. To put this into perspective, this is a person who just got their first top 8 going against a player who won nearly every major tournament for multiple years in a row. Hopeless. If the community hadn't thought the run was over already, seeing Stingray's opponent would put the nail in the coffin. But Stingray had other plans.
Sandstorm was. He is by far the most winningest player, and Stingray is really the new kid on the block. We haven't seen an unknown player in top 8 in a very long time.
And
but here it is. Remember the name.
Stingray.
Oh, Stingray! What a call out! 0 to death! Stingray wins! Oh my goodness! There's no way! Stingray just beat Sandstorm!
In a Game 5 set, Against all odds, Stingray stood over the fallen body of the GOAT of Brawlhalla, leaving Sandstorm in 5th place. This was the moment everything changed. Overnight, Stingray went from unknown talent to headline news. Momentum was back. Stingray would breeze through 2 more sets, beating Kostelix in 3-1 fashion and quickly 3-0ing Ethan in the losers final, before finally being put down by Pugsy once again in grand finals. He ended his legendary Winter 2020 run in 2nd place, but 2nd wasn't enough for Stingray. Throughout 2020 and 2021, he chased that elusive 1st place finish. He was always close. 3rd in Summer 2020, 5th in Winter 2021, 2nd in both Mammoth Cups. Each tournament, he got deeper into brackets, but the trophy always stayed just out of reach. In August of 2021, Stingray was noticed by the FGC org Illusion, and he actually ended up joining on August 27th. By the time the 2021 Brawlhalla Championship Expo rolled around in November, he placed 7th, another top 8 finish. Always close, always top 8, almost always a podium, but still always just out of reach. Cue the Steel Series Invitational in April of 2022. Over 2 years after Stingray's initial Winter's run. In 2 years, Stingray racked up almost 10 top 8s in major tournaments, and never placed outside of the top 32. Like the name of the tournament suggests, this was an invite-only tournament. Only 32 players were allowed to play, all invited by BMG. Old names like Boomy and Kostelix mixed with new up-and-coming players like Luna and Impala. And how did he do? I'll let you see for yourself.
Stingray's gonna get another 3-0 here on stream.
Oh, Stingray! He finds the gold medal in the Steel Series Invitational.
After years of chasing, Stingray had finally claimed his first major title. It was validation of his relentless determination. Stingray fought his way to the top, breaking into the pro scene in 2020, and now, 26 months later, countless tournaments later, he did it. He won a major. But invitationals aren't seasonals. They aren't the World Championship. They aren't an open major. An open tournament is always going to be harder than an invitational. You can't invite every single pro. Someone's going to be missing. Stingray's story was not over. There was still work to be done. In November, at BCX 2022, Stingray continued his momentum. In fact, a lot of players thought he could win the entire tournament. He navigated through a stacked bracket, breezing through pools only to lose to his own student, Impala, in top 8 qualifiers. In the losers bracket, he fights Sandstorm once again, and like before, he comes out on top. If Stingray could pull off a crazy run through the losers bracket in top 8, he could win BCX, the World Championship. Every competitive Brawlhalla player's dream. 3-0 on Megd. A close Game 5 set with Kaina. Stingray faces Luna for a top 3 finish. Game 1 goes to Stingray. Game 2 goes to Stingray. Luna switches off a Caspian, instead trying Mordex, and he wins a game. Then another. Game 5. Stingray is no longer confident in his Orion. He switches to Queen Nai, putting everything on the line. Everything he's fought for so far. All of the top 8s. All of the podiums, even his win in Steel Series 2022. They would all mean nothing by comparison if he could just beat Luna and become the BCX champion.
Keeping him alive. Here comes the scythe. Qatar's side. Luna easily gets away from it. Punishes weapon toss. The dodge is burned. Recovery comes out. Luna doesn't press it too hard. He knows how close he is. He just has to play some neutral. There it is.
Stingray was out. 4th in BCX. Hardly a bad placement, but when you're trying to be the best, anything but first leaves you devastated. Victory was just out of reach again. He'd won the Steel Series Invitational, but first place in an open major still eluded him. A few months later, the Winter Championship 2023 rolled around. Stingray, seeded 3rd, tore through the bracket. Mirroring his first ever top 8, Stingray's first real competition was Boomy, and it wasn't even close. After a quick 3-1, Stingray was in the top 8 qualifiers, facing Megd. Despite his easy 3-1 victory, this was the first place in the tournament where Stingray's lack of confidence in his character pick would shine through. He would switch from Brynn to Orion after game 2. For his first set in top 8, Stingray had to face off against Luna. Again, Stingray played Brynn in the first match, losing to Luna's Mordex, and then switched to Zol for the rest of the set. It didn't seem like Stingray's numerous character swaps were an issue. After losing 1 game to Luna, he won 3 in a row to secure the victory. In Winners Finals, Stingray found Radish, the 4th seed, waiting for him. Once again, Stingray started on Brynn, and after going down 2-1, he swapped to Orion. The set went all the way to game 5, where sadly, Radish got the better of Stingray. Until now, Stingray had played 3 different characters in the tournament, always starting on Brynn, but switching to Zol or Orion if he felt he needed to. In Losers Finals, Stingray and Luna faced off once again. Stingray quickly beat Luna in game 1, Brynn versus Taros. However, Luna made a character swap of his own, back to Mordex, and took game 2. Thinking he could replicate the result of the previous set, Stingray opted to play Zol in game 3, and he lost. Stingray was down 2-1. There was one question on everyone's mind. Is he gonna switch again, or keep playing Zol? The obvious next choice would be Orion, Stingray's tried and true. But when the dust settled and the game started, Stingray was on Lord Vrax. He won against Luna's Mordex, making the set 2-2. Game 5, all the marbles.
Character in the pocket. It is one of his 3 most played legends. There doesn't hit. This time it will. Needs to continue the edge guard for the turnaround. Stingray! No way! Luna's done! Stingray closes it out.
3-2. Another Stingray victory, double eliminating the 2nd seed in the tournament to reach grand finals for his rematch against Radish. For the first time in the entire tournament, Stingray did not start the set on Brynn. After losing game 1, Stingray swapped, hoping to find his footing on the character he'd prepared for the tournament, Brynn.
Of course, it's going to be the orb, and he takes that game.
2-0. One more game, and Stingray would be out of the tournament in 2nd place. Once again, just inches from 1st place in a seasonal. Playing yet another new legend, his 5th pick since top 32, Stingray locked in Azoth.
Who the fuck gave you bastard?
Radish is hot on the heels of Stingray.
Red, I'm a hothead, I used to be normal and I miss it, wanna try. Dead every day.
Down Stingray, not get it. Oh, that's a dodge. N-Sig doesn't hit.
That was so close. It's going to take one more side air. He almost picked up that sideline side air, and there it is. Radish is your 2023 North American Winter Champion.
A heartbreaking loss. 3-0. Another 2nd place. Another tournament where the win was within reach. Yet through it all, Stingray refused to break. Since his breakthrough in 2020, Stingray had given every tournament his all, even when the top seemed unreachable. With every loss, he found it within himself to keep grinding, to persevere, and he would keep placing well, despite shifting metas and fierce new rivals. 3rd place in spring 2023, a solid top 8 at the mid-season championship in 2024, and still a constant presence to this day, coming top 8 in doubles at the most recent seasonal, Winters 2025, and placing just outside of that in singles at 9th. In a scene once closed to new talent, Stingray proved there's always room at the top for one more person. A player who climbed unclimbable walls, mastered overlooked legends, and consistently stood among the very best. His journey is far from over even now, for there is still one barrier he has yet to break: an open major win. With every seasonal, with every BCX, there is the chance for another legendary Stingray run. After all, he is the breaker of barriers.